Welcome to the Mountain Guides. They operate 5 mountain guiding companies in the American West. The Mountain Guides of Utah, the Mountain Guides of Red Rock, the Mountain Guides of Montana, the Mountain Guides of Colorado. Their flagship operation in Jackson Hole is based in Jackson and leading trips all over the high peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Join their custom mountain adventures led by experienced guides in the iconic destinations. For more information, log on to themountainguides.com.
Okay, well this time of year when the tomatoes and the cucumbers are so fresh, why not make a Greek salad? It couldn't be more simple. You just cut up some tomatoes and red onion and beautiful cucumbers. You basically just dump them in your bowl. I just love to make a simple Greek salad with just about every meal. So I'm gonna put this together and just not toss it until I'm ready to eat it. So we've got tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, some Kalamata olives, some oregano, fresh or dried. I actually prefer dried for this. Some olive oil. Now let that soak in. And then a little salt and pepper. Love the smell of the oregano. And then a little bit of feta. Now I'm not going to toss it because the feta will get kind of mushy. So that's kind of ready to go, and we'll move on to the next dish. Okay, well if you have any samurai bread left from your dinner party, do not throw it away. Just put it in the freezer, bring it out to room temperature, and then just chop it up, cube it up, and then put a little olive oil. I'm going to put this on the pan, and I'm just going to make some really fabulous croutons. We're going to get my olive oil, and it's so super easy. You just sprinkle that with some olive oil, some garlic powder, maybe even a little fresh garlic if you feel like chopping some up. Some salt and pepper, maybe even some red pepper flakes, just for the heck of it. And then you're just gonna cook this for about, I don't know, 10-15 minutes because the bread's cooked. So all you're doing is really browning it. And you actually use more olive oil than you think, so it makes a nice crust. Now my son Amos, so I have 3 boys, but my son Amos is particularly in love with these croutons. And as a little boy, when he would bring a snack to school, he would make so many friends because he'd just bring a bag of these croutons for his snack, and he would make so many friends. I mean, they're kind of addictive, kind of like potato chips, but they'd be great in our Greek salad or just as a snack. And yet another way to use samurai bread. Well, I can't think of anybody who doesn't like a good meatball. But my twist on a meatball is that since I live in Wyoming part of the year where bison and elk are plentiful, I like to make my meatballs with bison or elk and pork. And so that's what we're gonna do today. Meatballs, pretty basic, couple of eggs, the bison and the pork, and you need the pork for the fat because elk and bison are very lean meats. They're actually very high in protein and much lower than fat than beef. And then I've just soaked these breadcrumbs. These are actually gluten-free breadcrumbs because this is actually a whole gluten-free dish in a little bit of almond milk. And I'm going to mix in about a cup of breadcrumbs, some actually vegan Worcestershire sauce, which you can also find these days. It turns out that now that everybody has food intolerances, you can find on a treasure hunt just about every alternative you need. So maybe a tablespoon of Worcestershire. And here's some freshly chopped basil and parsley, some Parmesan, oregano, and then boom. And my hands are clean. I'm going to just gently mush this up. It's kind of fun to mush it up, and you don't want to over mix, but You definitely want to mix in all the meat and the eggs and the breadcrumbs. Whoops. Well, the other thing is if you are a vegetarian, you could make this with an alternative meat. And because of all the other ingredients in it, you don't really know the difference. Like again, Beyond Meat beef makes a great ground beef. That's alternative. But for our guides on the mountain, for Jacksonville Mountain Guides, they want the real thing. They want the real meatball. So here we go. Now I'm gonna take a little olive oil in my hands, because again, the elk meat is very lean, so I wanna add a little bit more fat even. And you're gonna roll these meatballs about that size, 2 inches, because they're gonna shrink down a little bit. And I'm cooking them on parchment paper, which is always my best friend, because it doesn't stick. I like to make a good sized meatball. When I think of making meatballs for our guests, I think of 2 good sized meatballs, and we're gonna serve that with pasta and a marinara sauce. And then, so my hands are sticking again, so I'm gonna put some more olive oil. Okay, I'm gonna put these babies in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes, and I'm gonna turn them over, and so they're brown on all sides. You want the meat to be like 165 degrees. So I'm finishing up these croutons, which are also gonna be great in the marinara, dipped in the marinara and in the salad, but those are ready. And now I'm gonna start with the marinara. So I have 4 kids, and I always tell them they have to know the basics in the kitchen, and one of them is marinara. Everybody needs to know how to make a marinara sauce, which can also be used as a pizza sauce. But I'm going to start with just sauteing some onion. I'm going to turn the oven on. A million kinds of sauces, tomato sauce in the store, but really such a simple sauce, and it tastes so much better when you make it from scratch. You basically just need onion, garlic, some crushed tomatoes, salt and pepper. I mean, just can't be, just not that hard. So I'm sauteing a little onion and some olive oil until it softens, 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. And then I'm gonna add a little garlic, a couple cloves of garlic. I don't wanna overcook that, because garlic is the best flavor when it's just slightly, when you can start to smell it, it's actually time to move on to the next step. And then I'm gonna put these chopped tomatoes in. Turn it down a little bit. Some red pepper flakes. Some pepper. Some salt. And that's it. Here's my salt over here. And that is just gonna cook down so nicely, and we're gonna stick the meatballs in there when they come out of the oven and serve that on top of a bed of pasta. And that is what you want for your samurai bread croutons, because you need something to mop up this delicious sauce. But how simple is that? Time for the meatballs. Here they come. Oh my gosh, they are yummy looking. Look at that. Oh, I can actually smell the elk. So sizzly, hot, and good. And I'm gonna put those actually right into the marinara sauce. So I'm gonna move the croutons over. The marinara sauce is cooking down nicely, and I am going to take the meatballs and just let them cook a little bit more right in the sauce, which will be delicious. Yummy. Wish my boys were here. They'd be eating these before I could get them into the sauce. So now we're just gonna let those cook a little bit more in the sauce. I'm gonna sprinkle or pour some of the sauce on top so they cook a little more, because you don't want the meat, you don't want them to be red on the inside, obviously. Okay, here we go. And that is ready for the pasta. Well, dessert is always the most important. Well, maybe not the most important, but this particular dessert you're gonna love. It's a double chocolate pecan biscotti, which can be made gluten-free and dairy-free. which I feel like I always have to say that because so many people have problems with dairy and gluten. Anyway, so in the recipe, this basically has cocoa powder, chocolate chips, flour, butter, or vegan butter, and you make a dough. And I had rolled these into logs that I had in the refrigerator, and then you cook them in the oven for about 45 minutes. Then you take them out and they kind of look like this. And then the next step is that you slice them on the diagonal like this, and you get like a biscotti shape. And then what you're going to do is you're going to bake them one more time for 10 minutes, and that's how they get kind of crunchy. And they're so yummy you could eat these with ice cream. You can eat them for breakfast, dip them in your coffee. I mean, this recipe is, I think this is the best biscotti recipe I've come across. So I would highly recommend it. It's in my cookbook, which I'm going to be rewriting. So I made this cookbook actually as a Christmas present for my kids, but it turns out that I have so many friends that want it. I'm going to be publishing this for sale this year. And you can find the double chocolate, pecan, or walnut biscotti in the cookbook. So stay tuned. You can go to my website, okanoskitchen.com, and find a way to purchase the cookbook and the recipe. This was actually another one of my grandmother's famous family recipes that has been passed down through my grandmother to my mother and then to me. So I hope you enjoy it, and stay tuned. Okay, just a couple more things to do before we eat this delicious meatball dish. We got to dress the Greek salad. The one thing I do at the end is the red wine vinegar. I've already put olive oil on, but you don't need to do that until the very end. And do a little toss. Yum. Look at those tomatoes. Delicious. And you could actually sprinkle a few of these samurai bread croutons on top. And then you'll also have some extra to dip in your sauce. And I'm going to have a little fresh, beautifully minced basil on top. Yummy! All right, what did I forget? Oh, dessert. Oh my God, where is my biscotti? Here it is, woo! Double chocolate walnut biscotti, actually pecan, but you can make it with walnuts. It's delicious. Go to my website, okanoskitchen.com. And thank you for joining me, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode.
Welcome to the Mountain Guides. They operate 5 mountain guiding companies in the American West. The Mountain Guides of Utah, the Mountain Guides of Red Rock, the Mountain Guides of Montana, the Mountain Guides of Colorado. Their flagship operation in Jackson Hole is based in Jackson and leading trips all over the high peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Join their custom mountain adventures led by experienced guides in the iconic destinations. For more information, log on to themountainguides.com.